Eliza was 27 years old. She lived alone in a tall apartment building in the city. She had worked as an office assistant for 5 years, ever since she finished university. Eliza worked hard every day. Her job was busy and sometimes stressful. Some days she came home very tired, but she was good at what she did, and her coworkers respected her. Eliza was a serious person. She liked things to be organized and done the right way. At work, people often said she was calm and polite, but not very talkative. She didn't smile often, only when something truly made her happy. Eliza wasn't lonely all the time. She had friends, and people at work often said hello or asked about her weekend. But still, something felt a little quiet. Her life was calm, maybe too calm. Each morning felt the same. Each night, too. Wake up, get dressed, go to work, come home, eat dinner, read a book, go to sleep. She wasn't unhappy. Not really. She had a good job, a nice apartment, and a small group of kind friends. But lately, she had started to feel that something was missing. Not something big, just a small space inside her. A space that wanted change. A space that wanted to open up. She began to notice couples holding hands on the train, families walking in the park, a man buying flowers at the corner shop. And deep down, Eliza felt ready to talk more, to meet someone, to build something of her own, maybe even a family, someday. But she didn't know how to start, or when, or with who. One evening, after work, Eliza waited for the elevator. When the doors opened, a man was already inside. He wore a black coat and looked tired, just like her. For a moment, their eyes met. He gave her a small smile. Eliza smiled back, just a little, but it felt nice. For the first time in a long while, a man had noticed her. The elevator was quiet. She could hear the soft sound of music and the man's slow breathing. He looked calm, but his eyes were gentle and kind. When the doors opened, Eliza stepped out. Before they closed, she looked back one more time. The man was still there, smiling softly. As she walked to her room, she didn't know why, but she kept thinking about him, the man in the black coat, and the way his smile made her feel less alone. The next morning, she took the metro to work. The train was late, and many people were waiting. When it finally came, everyone tried to get in. Eliza stood near the door. Suddenly, the train stopped between two stations. The lights went off for a few seconds, then on again, then off once more. A voice said, "Please wait, there is a small problem." It became very quiet. No one spoke. Eliza looked around. Then she heard a man's voice beside her. "Well," he said softly, "that's not a good sign." She turned her head and saw him. The man from the elevator. He smiled again. "Hi, I think we work in the same building." Eliza felt a small surprise. "Yes," she said. "I think so too. I'm Daniel," he said. "Eliza," she answered. They talked a little about the city, the train, and the rain outside. His voice was calm, kind, and easy to listen to. Eliza didn't know why, but she felt lighter. It was the first real talk she'd had in days. Then the train started to move again. When they got off, Daniel said, "Maybe I'll see you again." Eliza smiled. "Maybe," she said. This time, her smile stayed a little longer. The next day, Eliza woke up at the same time. The sky outside was gray. The city was already moving. She got ready like always. Same coat, same shoes. But inside, something felt different. She was thinking about Daniel, his quiet voice, his soft smile, the way he looked at her like she mattered. It wasn't a long talk, but it stayed in her mind. At the metro station, she looked around. Maybe she would see him again, but he wasn't there. Work was the same as always: typing, reading, sitting. But Eliza felt a little lighter, a little more awake. At lunch, she sat near the window like before. One coworker walked by and said, "You look happy today." Eliza looked up, surprised. "Maybe I am," she said, almost laughing. Later that day, near the elevator, she saw him again. Daniel. He was holding a cup of coffee and looking at his phone. He looked up and saw her. "Hi, Eliza," he said with a smile. "Hi," she said back. There was a small pause. Then he asked, "Would you like to get coffee after work?" Eliza's heart beat a little faster. She didn't expect that. She wanted to say yes right away, but she took a small breath and smiled. "Yes," she said softly. "Tomorrow would be nice." And for the rest of the day, she felt the smile stay with her, soft and warm. The next day, Eliza woke up early. Today she felt very special. She wore a white shirt and a long gray coat. In the mirror, she smiled at herself. Today, she was going to meet Daniel after work. All morning, she waited for a message. Nothing came. At the office, she looked for him, near the elevator, by the coffee machine. But Daniel wasn't there. She thought, maybe he's busy. Maybe he'll text later. At 5 o'clock, Eliza waited outside the building. She looked around. People walked past her, talking and laughing. But Daniel didn't come. She waited 10 minutes, then 20. Still nothing. She took out her phone and called his number. A voice said, "This number does not exist." Her hands felt cold. She went back inside and asked the front desk, "Do you know Daniel? He works on floor 14, I think." The woman looked confused. "Daniel? I don't think we have anyone with that name." Eliza took the elevator up. She walked around floor 14. No desk had his name, no photo, nothing. Back at her own desk, something caught her eye. A small note was sitting there, on clean white paper. She picked it up. It was written by hand. It said, "You smiled today. Keep doing that." Eliza froze. The handwriting, she was sure, was Daniel's. She remembered it clearly now. On the train that morning, Daniel had taken out a small notebook and written something down while they were talking. His handwriting was neat and soft, the same style she was seeing now on the paper in her hand. But he was gone. Or maybe he was never really there. That night, Eliza couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, holding the small paper note. The words were still in her mind. But how could that be? No one at work knew him. His number didn't exist. The next day, she felt quiet again. At work, she didn't smile. She didn't talk. She just watched. In the elevator, she asked a coworker, "Do you remember a man in a black coat? He was here 2 days ago?" The person shook their head. "No, sorry." Eliza felt something strange in her chest, like fear and sadness mixed together. Later, she sat in the building's lobby, the place where she first saw him. She looked at the elevator doors. They were shiny, like a mirror. And then, for just a second, she saw it. A reflection. A man. Daniel. He was standing inside the elevator, looking right at her. Eliza turned around fast, but there was no one there. The elevator was empty. She stood very still. Her heart was beating hard. She held the paper note tighter. And for the first time, she asked herself, was Daniel real, or was he something else? The next morning, Eliza woke up late. Her body felt heavy, and her mind was full of questions. She sat by the window with a cup of tea. The city was busy, but everything felt far away. On the table was the paper note, the one from Daniel. She read it again and again. "You smiled today. Keep doing that." She wanted to believe he was real. She wanted to believe someone like him had seen her. But deep inside, she felt something was wrong. Eliza opened her laptop to start her work. But suddenly, a thought crossed her mind. She opened Google and typed his name, Daniel, floor 14, City Tower. Then one old article appeared on the screen. Her heart started to beat faster as she clicked it. The title said, "Office Worker Dies in Elevator Accident, August 2024. There was a small picture beside the words. The man in the photo. It was Daniel. Eliza covered her mouth with her hand. She read the article again. He had worked in the same building, same elevator. He had died there 1 year ago. For a long time, she didn't move. The room was quiet. Her tea was cold. Then she whispered, "So he's gone." At first, fear filled her. She didn't want to believe what she saw. But after a while, she sat back and took a deep breath. Maybe, she thought, it's not real. Maybe I just imagined him. Maybe I'm tired. Too much work, too much stress. But then she remembered his smile in the elevator. Calm, warm, and real. She remembered his eyes, the way he said her name, and the note on her desk. No, she thought, I saw him. I really saw him. All day, she couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. His face kept coming back to her mind like a quiet memory she couldn't let go of. That night, when she came home and lay in bed, she thought about everything again. The elevator, the train, the coffee they never had, the note. Each piece felt like a dream, but somehow also true. And slowly, she came to understand something. Maybe it didn't matter whether Daniel was real or not. Maybe what mattered was what he left behind. The note. "You smiled today. Keep doing that." Maybe he wrote it because he wanted her to feel happy again. Maybe he was someone like her, quiet, gentle, and hoping for a bit of light in the world. Maybe he came back, just for a moment, to remind her to open her heart again, to smile more, to see the good things waiting for her, and to live the life she had once wished for. As those thoughts slowly settled in her mind, Eliza felt calm for the first time that day. Her eyes grew heavy, and she let herself rest. The city outside was quiet, and somewhere between waking and sleep, she thought she heard a soft voice, like Daniel's, whisper, "Keep smiling." When morning came, the light was gentle and pale. Sunday had arrived, and with it, she felt a quiet peace, like everything around her had finally become gentle again. Eliza sat by the window with a cup of tea. The world outside looked calm. Children in the park, birds flying between buildings, soft wind moving the curtains. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel empty. She thought of Daniel again, but this time it didn't hurt. His smile still lived somewhere inside her, not as a mystery, but as a quiet reminder. She realized that maybe Daniel hadn't come to make her sad or confused. Maybe he came to help her remember something she had forgotten, that life could be kind, that people could notice her, that even a small smile could change a day. Eliza took a slow breath and smiled again, this time not for anyone else, but for herself. She didn't know what the future would bring, but she wanted to meet it with open eyes and an open heart. Somewhere deep inside, she felt that Daniel would have liked that. Thank you for watching.